Good evening, guys. Allow me few seconds to set up the screen. Thanks for your patience and welcome to the program. Good evening again. Yesterday we had a brief discussion on this topic and there was an interruption. So I am going to restart this program today. And welcome back. Hope you are able to hear me. Can anyone comment on the LinkedIn comment? Are you able to hear and see the screen properly? Today's topic is in fact a supply chain network design concepts. Of course, when we talk about network design, we are not talking about the software, but the process behind it. What are the things required to design a efficient supply chain network? Of course, distribution is also one part of a supply chain network. When you want to consider the entire supply chain, you have to consider both suppliers and customers, and then decide the location of your warehouses. It could be for inbound or outbound. Also in the network design, we also consider the location of the facilities. So before we dive into the topic, a brief introduction about me. My name is Pattabhi Raman. This is my LinkedIn profile. I hope many of you are connected with me. You can follow or connect with me by using the keyword supply chain master. As far as my education is concerned, I am an engineer with a PG degree in management as well as data science. I have nearly 2.5 decades working in this large global organization, specifically in supply chain allied domains. In the last 10 years of my profession, I was heading the supply chain. Last 4 years, I am the CEO of the current organization called Thoughtware Training Private Limited. Of course, with respect to certification, you should be familiar if you are a supply chain professional. These are certifications from ASCM or APIX, as well as similar certification from Demand Driven Institute. I am also a certified purchasing manager and a project management professional, apart from qualified in analytics. Coming to our organization, we are based in Bangalore, 4-year-old organization. We provide both consulting and training in the field of supply chain and allied domains. So we have a weekly program, a brief introductory program on every weekday, and whatever we are seeing is a brief introduction about our programs. In fact, we have a detailed program on supply chain network design, which is a self-paced program. If any one of you are interested, you are welcome to visit that site. Of course, here I am trying to give whatever possible in this half an hour a brief highlight about warehouse network design, or it may be called supply chain network design, like that. In this brief session, we are going to see some of the aspects like drivers for supply chain network redesign, process of comprehensive supply chain network design, major locational determinants, modeling approach for supply chain network design. Of course, each one is a ocean and it requires very deliberate discussion to determine the entire network. Of course, here we are going to see on a macro view. Coming to the drivers of redesign, you can see the title here. We are talking about network redesign. Possibly when your organization is new, that time the network was decided, the facility, location, and distribution centers were located. Okay, but when the operation commenced, there were a lot of changes with respect to supplier or customer, so it will necessitate a redesign into the existing network. We will see some of the aspect which requires necessitates the supply chain redesign. In fact, any organization has to undergo a redesign in terms of locating their warehouses and manufacturing facility depending on the changes. For example, there could be changes in global trade pattern or changes in customer service requirement, shift in customer or supply market location. So each one of this impacts the location and the way in which the efficiency of the network performs depends on these factors. Change in corporate ownership, merger and acquisition, corporate organizational change, cost pressures, competitive capabilities. So when you have this type of thing which will naturally happen for any business, so it is natural that every organization should take up some form of a redesign once in 3 to 5 years. Of course, this is a lengthier process and it takes a cost, because if you want to remove or add or change the location of a particular facility, it involves cost as well as time. So you also need some long term forecast in terms of the market conditions. Okay, coming to the network design principle, there are actually six steps are available in this process, starting from define the process step, perform the supply chain audit, examine the network alternatives, facility location analysis, network design decision making, develop implementation plan. Of course, here we are seeing about the process. You need to be an expert in supply chain and logistic to do this process. And possibly you may use any software as a tool to support you, but you need to know the process. You should have an in-depth understanding of what is going to happen, what are the required inputs, and where you are able to get this input. Only when you have that, you can use any tool for modeling and selecting a particular tool. Hope most of you are able to understand. You can always comment in the LinkedIn comments so that I can watch and respond. Coming to the first step, define the supply chain network process. Here we have to take up this in the form of project management. These are all not operational activity, and it requires specific team focusing towards this transformation. When we call about network redesign, you need a special task force with a limited time frame and a budget, and they should manage this. So the first step is forming a team, and the thing could be establish the parameters and the objectives of the network design or redesign process, evaluate the potential involvement of third party suppliers of logistics services. So these are the first steps, and coming to the second step, we are trying to do some current state analysis. That's what we call as a supply chain audit. Here you need to follow this step like fundamental business information, logistics supply chain system, key logistics supply chain activities, measurement and evaluation, strategic logistics supply chain issues. What we are trying to do in this process is we are trying to capture the current state condition, and in this process we are going to capture a lot of data required for this transformation process. The third step is examining the network alternative. This is where you need some software tools, possibly analytical tool may be required. There are some specialized software available, but apart from that, you can always use any of the analytical tool like Python combined with the machine learning can provide a solution. Okay, here we are going to identify preliminary supply chain network design solution, consistent with the key objective identified. Maybe possible we can do some what if analysis. In fact, in our supply chain analytics program, we do all these activities in detail when we take a project on network design. The next step could be conduct a facility location analysis. So location is also a important factor. It could be a location for a warehouse or distribution center or manufacturing facility. They have to analyze both quantitative and qualitative nature of the site. Also, any constraint are available. Finally, the decision has to be made. So here we need to involve the top management and take their concurrence when we are going to decide the alternatives. Okay. Coming to the next step is a development of a implementation plan. This is where you need the project setup when you are trying to implement, because the whatever tools you are using for analysis, modeling and solution will stop there. But then physically you need to be a supply chain executive or a logistic executive to go in for implementation. For example, you need to select a site and then build a facility and design the replenishment models, inventory positioning. All these are a part of supply chain function. Okay, this is what happens in the all the six steps. Coming to broad geographic and site specific location determinants, possibly there are some global, national, or regional determinants, starting from labor, climate, transportation, service, infrastructure, proximity to market and customer. Here, it is not only the customer, you have to see where are your supply sources, how far they are there, and if they are from imported country, then what could be the situation in terms of location. How is the quality of life, because this is going to influence the employee turnover. Taxes and industrial development incentives, many local government also provides incentive for setting up the facilities. Then you always have a supplier network, land cost, utilities, IP infrastructure. Then coming to the site specific determinant, you need to take after look after transportation access in terms of various modes. Then whether you are going to locate the facility inside the urban area or no. Also, you should check in terms of workforce and needed skill set. Okay. Now there are also on the site selection itself is a big topic which we debate for several hours. It could be in terms of growing use and need for strategically located cross docking facility, whether it is possible to make this particular facility to convert as a cross docking. Hope if you are a supply chain or logistic executive, you should be knowing what we are talking about. Cross docking. Then greater emphasis on access to major airport or ocean port, greater use of third party logistic provider, greater use of customer direct delivery from manufacturing. Wherever it is feasible, we should use D2C, direct to customer. Then we talk about strategic positioning of inventory. It means that you may be having several warehouses in the network. So what kind of inventory you can keep in this warehouses, in terms of either cycle stock or even safety stock. So this is what we call as a inventory positioning. So if we take the supply chain network design, we are not only talking in terms of the number of warehouses, we are also going to decide the location and also decide on inventory positioning and replenishment models. You may see the challenge for supply chain nowadays is growing in complexity. So manually doing any mapping is much difficult in the current situations. Okay. That's where you need a software support. That alone cannot be the tool. Here you know, traditionally we were talking only in terms of distribution model, considering the customer alone. Now you should consider the procurement and various stages of manufacturing. Possibly the manufacturing also happens at the various plants depending on their supply conditions. Then you have the distribution center, transportation flow. So in designing the network, you need lot of data for making the analysis. Without capturing the complete current status, it is impossible to design effective modeling. Okay, and this is where we use some of the modeling approach. It may be called optimization model or simulation model or heuristic model, depending upon the requirement and data availability. So we have briefly seen about our program. We have a detailed program by name supply chain network design, where we are dealing to the extent of nearly 20 hours going to each of the process, and it is available as a self paced program. Any of you interested, you can visit our website and enroll for this program, where we have nearly 100 modules. Video lessons are available, and where required, it is also supported by some templates. Okay, you can see up to 105 modules are available. And always you can visit our site if you are looking for any live programs or any self paced program, either on supply chain network design or other topics. You are welcome to contact our team. I am also available for any consulting or career advice. You can reach me through any of these numbers. Now, any of the participants, there are many live participants in the LinkedIn. Any queries? You can always type in the LinkedIn. Krunal Shah was saying, please share the PPT in full screen. Possibly, I think you could have enlarged the screen and seen. Maybe I will take care of this point in the future session. Any of the participant, any queries on our programs, or there is a brief introduction, or any guidance, career guidance? Thanks for watching. Have a nice evening. Bye.